All right, again, for everybody just coming through, we are not doing a tier list based on the current meta. We are doing a theoretically peak tier list. So, like, what would the game look like if the game was in the best spot it could be? What do I think the tier list would look like? Should everything be balanced? I guess the way I want it balanced, or the way I think would be healthiest for the game. Because we haven't done one like this before, we're gonna probably just I'll put everyone up on the tier list based on feel, and then at the end I'll probably move people around because I don't think this is something that I'm going to be able to figure out first try. Okay, so we're gonna just go in order. Zetterburn. Zetterburn is a character that I feel like is good by design, and it's hard to take away what makes him good because, again, it feels like they designed him to be good, if that makes sense. This is the type of character that kind of gets people to play the game. I know people like watching Zetterburn, people like playing Zetterburn, and it bridges the gap between stuff like melee and PM. So as much as Zetterburn is annoying, I think Zetterburn is a character that probably is among the healthier top tiers that the game could have. If we have to have somebody up there, obviously there's other characters that should join him, but Zetterburn's not a bad character to have be like one of the best in the game. Rano. Rano's a tough one because you don't want Rano to be the best character in the game. That is a nightmare. And if you think about like Sheik in Melee, it's okay if he's close, but you don't want him to be that good. Obviously, just because like needles and back air can promote a style of gameplay that's really frustrating. But at the same time, I feel like the cool and the good Ranos do a lot of really sick stuff and are finding cool like combo routes, and then like needle confirms and stuff like that can be cool. Especially if he had like the approaching tools to be a little bit better. So we're gonna maybe optimistically put him in George of the Jungle. He might move down to Curious George. We're gonna have to see. Guys, I've looked at the word George so many times now, it looks like I've spelt it wrong. That's the conversation I'm having with myself now. I was like, did I spell it wrong? It's Raster. This, I believe, at the very least, is a character that if you make him good at all, he instantly shoots to here. Just, again, because of how he's designed, he's either like here or he's here. And it's really hard to justify like a desire to have him here. Because it just becomes... He just plays a different game where he's just kind of like hitting you around the air and is able to find strongs in the air and just like clip you with kill confirms, which is fine. But if you make that good, where he is also playing neutral, this just becomes a nightmare. And so I think having Raster be here would be the sweet spot. I think balancing him to here would be difficult, but I think he's one of those characters that I think if you want the playstyle and kind of the uniqueness, that's a decent place for him. But I think if you're making him better, it's a really big problem pretty quick. We'll order the tiers after. So if characters start being put in the same tier, we'll shuffle them around. Or maybe we'll do it as we go. Who knows? Crag. So my spite for Crag wants me to put him here. Is effectively what I'm saying. How much I hate Crag makes me want to put Crag here in terms of like he should be bad. Crag has a lot of things that are like not great for the game. where his recovery is just strange. The way that rock works is strange. And all of his moves just hit you like a truck. I think we've seen, Craig's been up here for a while, and we've seen the problem with that. And so putting him down here would have him be in that like kind of gimmick character territory. I think the man in the yellow hat tier is quickly becoming like, has a gimmick, like a very unique thing that they have, that if too strong becomes really fucking annoying. So perhaps man in the yellow hat tier can be for Crag as well, where he has a gimmick. And if it wasn't as strong and if he wasn't as good, it would be cool to see the kinds of setups that Crags were doing and different things like that. But because it's so good, it's more annoying. So we're gonna put him in the man in the yellow hat. Fleet. This might be a controversial take. I think having a character like Fleet be pretty good is all right for the game, right? Almost every platform fighter has a projectile character that's good, with like the notable exception being melee. But even Peach kind of fills like a degree of like the floaty niche and the float cancel niche. And again, when that is done well, it is quite cool. And I also think it I think it promotes a style of play that the other characters don't have. I think like perspective wise, it would be sad if B-Bats couldn't do what he was doing. Right? I think we can agree that B-Bats is like a cool player, and even though Fleet has some stuff that's like overbearing, I'd rather her be the zoner that's good than the other option. So, yeah, and obviously like this isn't a buffs or nerfs tier list in terms of what I want, but I think having a character like Fleet with the float mix-ups and things like that be good, facilitates the learning curve that float has, and promotes a unique style of gameplay. So I think Fleet being good is fine. Maple's going to be the first character in Curious George tier. I think Maple's one of those characters where you want to put her higher because it's like, oh, she has the potential to be aggressive, which is true, but she also has the potential to camp you really, really hard, and we're seeing that that's actually what the Maples are doing more. On top of having that like really big offstage presence, which players like Elkies and Yoda Cage really push. So I think having a character like Maple just being in the middle, where she kind of falls where she is right now in terms of at least where I'd have her, where she's good. She's definitely good. But she's not like overbearing. And so again, if you're able to put in the time, perfect what she does off stage, and go for some of those more aggressive plays, she's capable of getting wins, but she's not like here where it's easy. Does that make sense? So I'm putting her right in the middle. People are going to hate this take too. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, let me explain. Claren is the only sword character in the game, really. And even then, she's not really like a true sword character. And she's not super exciting. That being said, Claren undeniably fills a niche in gameplay that otherwise is not filled. There's no one else in the cast that you can play like Claren. And again, whether you think that's good or bad is up to you. But I think in terms of like the way I would ideally want to balance a game is having a diversity of playstyles viable at like a top level. And having a sword character be good keeps some of these guys in check, right? And so I think having Claren being here is fine. It's where I would want her to be. Where she's like a viable character, she's a good character, but she doesn't need to be overbearing or anything like that. Okay. Hopefully the justification is okay. You guys don't have to shoot me. Please. Obviously, again, this is not like a buffs and nerfs tier list. I think Claren's grab game being as good as it is, and a couple of the other things Claren has, like down strong, don't need to be the way that they are. But in this ideal world, maybe those got nerfed, right? And everything got shuffled around. I still think Claren theoretically should be a good character. And to be fair, like when you watch Run Gunshoe, it's kind of sick. Lockxodont is a character that should be bad. He should be. I'm sorry to the Lockxodont mains out there, but if you have the like floaty, heavy pseudo zoner who has a giant disjoint, nah, man. It's just a recipe for being fucking annoying. Like the higher and higher he goes, the more annoying it is. I think having Lockxodont be like a noob stomper kind of character, kind of like he is now, is fine. But I think if Lockxodont was a good character that you saw often, it would be actual hell. So I think this is kind of like, you remember Smash Ultimate when K. Rool, like when Smash Ultimate came out, K. Rool was considered to be like really good. And then everyone learned how to play against K. Rool, and then he shot to the bottom of the tier list. That's what Lockxodont needs to be. Right? He's a character that is capable of finessing wins because he's got like kind of a cheeky play style. And he was really hard when like the game was new, but he's a character that should not be good over time. Okay. Orcane is tough. I have Orcane here or here. He's either man with the yellow hat or he's the bottom of Curious George. It's effectively the same spot. But again, I think Orcane feels the niche of like having a gimmick that's interesting to play around, like the puddle, even though the puddle is like dedicatedly annoying. But I think the actual like uniqueness of Orcane is how slippery he is. Like his wave dash being what it is, his tilts kind of being what they are, and then his smash attacks being what they are. I think is what the real gimmick is outside of just bubbles. And I'm okay with those being like decent. I think it like someone in the chat said it, but yeah, you're right. Like Orcane has a cool way of expressing himself if you master the character, and has a cool way of expressing himself if you do everything that like needs to be done with him to like move around the stage and find your openings and get those big hits and manage the recovery and stuff like that. So I think Orcane has a lot of cool stuff in that regard. Whether people use the cool stuff, I think Curious George tier is kind of being like is cool but has the capacity to be really not cool. And so then they're checked in by that. But I'm fine with having Orcane there. Similarly, I think Forsburn falls into this tier. Probably above Orcane. I think Forsburn's a similar character where all three of these characters have a really cool mechanic that they can play around in a unique way and have the capacity to be very exciting to watch. The difficulty is all of them have the capacity to camp like very heavily. And so their designs are kind of hard to balance around. And again, I think it's okay for them to be in that mid tier then instead of in the upper tiers, just because the mechanic is one that is hard to manage, if that makes sense. I think that's where I'm falling with it. Etalus, this is a hard one. This is a hard one because my heart of hearts says this character should suck ass. But I'm going to put him up here because at least he's kind of cool. Etalus is just another character where his advantage state is so good. It's really hard to navigate. He kind of just fucks you up off stage. He has some weaknesses of his own, but I think having his weaknesses be so pronounced that that it didn't feel so bad to get auto comboed by him would make more sense, or at least would feel a little bit better. I think Etalus is a character that would be fine right here. I think if you push him up here, it would also be okay, but you're kind of getting into like dicey territory. Again, I think his just gimmick of being able to dash attack cancel the way that he does, combined with the stuff he has off stage, is something that's pretty hard to manage. All right, Olympia, again. Don't send the dogs after me, okay? This character's good. And it's fine if she's good. Olympia obviously reined in a little bit. Is cool. Right? She has to run at you. She's one of the few characters in the game that she's one of the few characters in the game that has to run at you. Not has to, but can. And I think by making Olympia good, you promote her to run at you. Because she gets, like, reward for doing so. Because if you make Olympia bad, she's just going to camp you back. Which sucks. Alright, so make her good. At least we have one character approaching. Right? Olympia has, like, a defined weakness. Even though she's quite good, she's not so overbearing. Even at, like, top level, we don't see that many Olympias. And so I think having Olympia be a top tier with Zetterburn is fine. And again, I think promotes a style of gameplay that people like watching. Even though there is some like risk involved. Absa. I'm actually fine with Absa being like decent. I think Absa isn't as campy as people think that she is. And I also think she offers a very unique style of play that no one else does, right? Like, no other character in the game plays like Absa, and she also promotes, like, a pretty high level of mastery. So I think having her be good is okay. Obviously, I don't think you want her up here because we start getting problematic. But I think having her like around here where she's solidly in the middle and can do what she does while also having like the skill expression to like be better, I think is good for the game. And I think I think it's a good thing, right? It offers a diversity of playstyles. It offers a lot. To the point where players can kind of figure out what they want to do with it. And push it like a player like Ant, who is like super cool to watch. So I think there's benefits there. Galvin's tough because I think he should be bad. And I don't know if people are going to hate that opinion, but like, just the way that they've designed him where he's just got God normals and then God aerials, but then he's fucking slow and his recovery's mediocre. But then he also has a God projectile. Like, it's just... They gave him so many weird gimmicks. They made him so good at the ledge. I was able to chat with Dan at Genesis about some of the like design philosophy and stuff, and he was talking to me about how sometimes like characters transcend their original design. And he was like, yeah, like Galvin's really good at the ledge. And that wasn't like what we had intended, but it's cool that he does that. And it's like, yeah, but why is this fucker so good at the ledge, man? Like, he's a fucking monster at the ledge. You just die. I don't think you want Galvin to be good in any sense of the word, because if you have Galvin be good, you just have another Etalus. Except you have an Etalus with like big disjointed aerials and like a better capacity for playing neutral in a scary way. I could see him being up here, but man, that's just, and you can tell I'm biased against heavies. Like, does this feel better? Would this feel better? Does this feel better? I don't know. I don't want the heavies to be good. And I think there's a reason that the heavies typically aren't good. Is because they're not fun to play. But I guess the one thing about Galvin is, like, someone has said it, and the ledge play does promote some, like, cool interactions off stage. They are fun to watch. People like watching Galvin. And the side B confirms are cool. So you know what? I'll concede. We can move him here. This is as good as this character needs to be. If you go anywhere above this, you start getting into hell. And it starts being real bad. It starts being real bad. I could see him being here too. Yeah, maybe I'll put him there. Maybe I'll put him there. That way it just feels more reasonable. Even though it's not like changing the placement at all, technically. This is just like heavies featuring Raster tier. All right, Lorena. This one's hard. So the reason this one is hard is because effectively Lorena's gimmick, like not Lorena's gimmick, but the grappler gimmick in a lot of games is to be kind of bad, but to be capable of cheesing wins. And so where do you put that? Right? Like, if you imagine Donkey Kong in Smash 4, he's like here. Probably more like here or here. But is that where you put Lorena? Is that where you want this demon? Or do you want her to suck a little bit? And again, I think Lorena's a fun character to watch and a fun character to play, and has like a very defined weakness, which might be shored up if she was at this point in the tier list. But there's a difficulty here of like, either you put her here or you put her here. I think those are the two options where you either go grapplers are bad and should be bad, or you think grapplers are bad but should be capable of winning because they cheese you. And do we think that's a good thing? Do we think that the game should have a grappler, should have a heavy that is capable of like pushing forward in the meta like that? Especially one who, yeah. And then someone brought up a good point. Do we want a character that ignores CC and can beat shield on platforms and also is strong? And that being a decent option for accessibility, while also having like a pretty unique mechanic and share. I've talked myself into it. I want Lorena to be up here. This is my heart. Okay? So if you disagree with this one, you disagree with my heart, and that's fine, right? We can disagree. We can disagree. You're so biased. I had a great reason for everything. Everything had a great reason. I think, again, I think having a character that can beat CC, biased on the opinion tier list. I'm biased towards my own opinion. Let's go. Let's go. I think having a character that beats CC, having a character that beats shield on platform, and then having like a heavy-ish character that pushes into the upper half of the roster, If it's going to be anyone, I feel like you want it to be Lorena. But I think this is probably where my heart falls on the tier list. I think you could probably argue this. I'm taking a look at all the tiers now and seeing if I want to move anyone within tiers. We got a lot of heavies in this tier, man. There's a lot of heavies in this game that I just want to be dog shit. I could see that, but then it's just a lot of people in that tier. It's too much cheese. Too much wackiness in this game. These characters, again, cool, but have the capacity to camp you. You swap Orcane and Galvin? I don't know about that. I feel like Orcane is cooler. At least he can move. And it promotes some kind of, like, interactivity. I'm also, I guess, kind of just of the opinion that I think heavies should be kind of bad. I think when heavies are good, you really notice and it feels bad. And that's not just in this game, right? Like, if you look at Strive, where Potemkin's the best character in the game, people fucking hate that. And for good reason. Like, it's not fun. And so, I think you have to kind of temper your expectations with the heavies a little bit and concede that they're probably going to be in the lower half of the cast, and that's probably a good thing. If you look at like Donkey Kong and PM as well, guys, you don't want that. You don't want that. You don't want that. PM Donkey Kong was a fucking menace, bro. Everyone hated it. And so I think we have enough, at least I feel like I have enough data points of, I'm tired of the archetypal small characters are fast and goated and heavy characters are slow and bad. I'm not. Have you tried playing the other way around? It's a fucking nightmare. It feels so bad. Yeah, it's just like, is it definitely a thing where it's like, yeah, the small, fast, like neutral, heavy characters are good, and the big characters with the zoners lose out a little bit? That is common. Don't get me wrong. But look at the games where that's not true. Right? Look at the games where that's not true. Look at PMDK. Look at where Smash Ultimate's meta is right now. Look at all of the nonsense. Even if you looked at traditional fighting games, again, like Potemkin and Strive, look at the games where that's not true. And the other aspect of it is the small and fast characters tend to have a higher skill ceiling and are more difficult. And yeah, Crag in this game. People fucking hate Crag, and for good reason. Crag's fucking annoying. And so, as much as it is like a tried and true thing, just think about why. And think about what the alternative is. Because it's not exactly super fun. And we've seen a couple of times the kind of stuff that happens when that's not true. So I think this is what my probably ideal tier list would look like theoretically. I will note my like bias towards sword characters in having Claren up here, my bias towards grapplers in having Lorena up here. I think those are partially a product of just like what I like, and I mean to a degree what I think would be decent for the game. But I think this is where I'd put it. I think I feel pretty good about this in terms of like the theoretically peak meta for Rivals 2. We'll give this a screenshot. We'll post it.